Hey, last night at the University of Arizona, President Obama led a memorial of the tragedy in Tucson, and he had some moving words about the youngest victim, Christina Taylor Greene. Take a look.
I want to live up to her expectations. I want our democracy to be as good as Christina imagined it. I want America to be as good as she imagined it. All of us, we should do everything we can do to make sure this country lives up to our children's expectations.
Oh, you know, I have to say, I watched that last night, and our president did a most outstanding, gave the most heartfelt, appropriate, so needed direction, I think, for us at this time. And I really felt, and side of the aisle aside, that as our president, this was the man that I think we've all been looking for to speak at this time. I was so thankful for him, and I had tears in my eyes when he said that. It is an absolute perfect metaphor and guidance for us, and I am thankful to President Obama for just that delivery. It was amazing.
Well, you mentioned two sides of the aisle because, you know, there are continuous repercussions. One is a whole debate now on gun control again. And the other is the kind of vituperative action on both sides, all we kept hearing about on both sides of Congress, you know, will they get together? I wonder if this will produce, as you suggest, a different tone. Is it possible that in the political system now, even though you can disagree, it won't have the anger that we saw 2 weeks ago? Maybe.
Well, he did call for civility again, and he said it wasn't the lack of civility that caused this, but it's a wonderful opportunity to now take it there and really improve upon it. And I thought the way he said it was wise and
you know, you hated that a tragedy has to happen to make people look up and go, oh my goodness. But it seems like, you know, this, when you say, gosh, you're trying to find some good out of anything that happens, the fact that everybody is.
Is it true that people minded that there was applause?
Yeah, this morning, some critics were questioning whether the tone was appropriate last night because they were saying it felt more to them like a pep rally than a memorial. I mean, the
ads on Twitter were going nuts. I mean,
well, I just have to say, you know, a memorial service is generally held for someone who is dead. Not everyone that President Obama was talking about last night was dead. Some of the survivors were there. So I don't know why they call it a memorial, because it's not.
But why is someone to tell you how to mourn? Why is someone to tell anyone how to deal with this circumstance? And I thought, I'm on Twitter, it's blowing up last night saying, this is a pep rally, not a memorial service. How dare you? I think that this is something that should not be defined by anyone on the outside saying this is how it should be. It was perfectly appropriate.
Also, on the question of applause, you know, there's applause and there's applause. And because of the internet, I think people are much more involved. And we have applause at places where we didn't used to. We have applause at weddings. Don't you go to weddings now where people are applauding the bride and groom? They didn't. People applaud. People applaud the.
I love that.
Exactly.
I give a standing ovation.
They applaud the Star-Spangled Banner. You know, they applaud sometimes at funerals. I mean, there are some funerals I would like to applaud at.
But you know, it's also
my point is, it's not. When you applaud, it doesn't
necessarily mean.
Yes, it isn't diminishing.
Consider the setting.
Some of the I was going to say, some of the things people were applauding were the heroes, and I think they should have been applauded. You know, people felt, and I guess everyone was giving a sigh when he was saying, listen, can we just try to live up to what this little girl wanted?
And that's what I think they were saying.
I think they were very happy.
We are not going to let this, we're going to honor this little girl when they clapped at her name. We are going to honor her. I think it was such an emotional, visceral response of, you know, we got to let that out.
And also, consider the setting. If you put 14,000 people in a pool and ask them not to swim, that would seem odd. Human nature, being in an auditorium that large, an arena there, it's a loud place. By nature, you're with a bunch of people in a stacked stadium seating. You're going to express yourself in a way that feels appropriate there. It is applause.
That after we're talking about let's come together, we have people twittering and they're angry again. I mean,
People just always have something to say, child.
It was, we're gonna
it was a beautiful night, and that's the bottom line.
Right.
You know, Sarah Palin made headlines for breaking her silence about the tragedy, and she's now taking even more heat about one part in particular. Take a look.
Journalists and pundits should not manufacture a blood libel that serves only to incite the very hatred and violence that they purport to condemn.
Now, the term blood libel originated from the false accusation that Jews use the blood of Christian children for religious rites. Okay, and you know how old that is.
But then it went even further to be that.
Yes, but
sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, it went even further to lead into the false theory that the Jews killed Christ. That was the way it came down in history.
I think it's interesting, too, because this speech was given and put online prior to our president's, and his tone was absolutely perfect and appropriate, and in fact was not scolding. Now, she does have reason to be angry, being accused of things that were not directly by evidence connected to her. However, I think her tone is a little more insightful as well. It's you know, she tried to use words that may stir the pot again, whereas his words were those that calm the nation, settle the nation, and I think his tone was more appropriate than Sarah Palin's.
It's interesting because Alan Dershowitz, who is a great lawyer and happens to be Jewish, a piece of what he said is there is nothing improper and certainly nothing anti-Semitic in Sarah Palin using the term to characterize what she reasonably believes are false accusations, that her words or images may have caused a mentally disturbed individual to kill and maim.
So it's because she was comparing herself to being Christ, being...
But what he's saying is that her using that term is not an inappropriate thing.
But it's also something that stirs up emotion, and I think what we're trying to do now is maybe not do that. The message that I took from our president is, hey, let's take this time and actually reconsider our words. Will they help or hurt? As you would say to a child, do these words build somebody up or do they break them down?
But it's very interesting because President Obama, he wasn't attacked, though, as Sarah Palin was.
Sure, but it's hard sometimes. I just want to go back to what Alan Dershowitz said about it. I think for her now, she is getting more death threats now than she ever did before. You know, you're usually much more pro Sarah Palin, and I don't usually take this stand. But the woman is trying to express her own grief and to say, you know, that there is violence in this country. And I think we should stop taking everybody's line and everybody's word and everybody's thing and trying to make more of it. And in this case, I think to blame her for saying that is, as you suggested with Dershowitz, inappropriate and unnecessary.
And baseless, factually baseless at this point. We don't have evidence to prove it.
Well,
so she has a right to be angry.
There's no winning or losing. The winners and the losers, we spoke about them last night. You know, and so if there's anything to come out of this, you know, maybe we just got to move forward. You know, maybe we just got to move forward and say, okay, we're going to try to be a little better. We're only human.
And how symbolic that Gabby's eyes opened yesterday. Maybe like as ours should.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have to tell you, that was something that suddenly, you know, I'm kind of a space cadet in my own way. But when the president said, and I got permission from Gabby's husband to tell you this, that she opened her eyes. Waterworks. I was like, oh. And I just said, oh my God, stop, come back, come back.
What did that mean to you?
I don't know. I just felt like, oh, thank you.
It means maybe it means that she's, you know, that she's going to have a good recovery. I think that's what we all felt.
Yes.
You know, we're so involved with her now, emotionally, as we should be.